in a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the familiar blue skies of Earth. Humanity's first deep space exploration fleet drifted silently through the endless void. The ship at the center of this fleet was called the Odyssey, a vessel designed not just to explore but to represent all that humanity had achieved. On board, Captain Liam Carter stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the swirling mass of stars outside the viewport. For years, humanity had dreamed of meeting intelligent life beyond Earth. Today, those dreams were about to become reality. The crew of the Odyssey buzzed with nervous energy. No one knew what to expect. Some whispered about peaceful aliens, eager to share knowledge, while others imagined hostile beings bent on conquest. Among the crew, Dr. Olivia Grant, a xenobiologist with a sharp mind and an insatiable curiosity, moved between stations, checking data streams and analyzing readings. Her heart raced as she considered the possibilities. What would these aliens look like? How would they communicate? Would they even see humans as equals? The moment came suddenly. A ripple in space appeared ahead of the fleet, and from it emerged a massive alien ship. It dwarfed the Odyssey, its sleek, metallic surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. The ship's design was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Smooth curves blended seamlessly into sharp angles, and strange symbols pulsed faintly along its hull. It exuded power, a silent declaration of dominance. "Captain," said Lieutenant Ryan Bennett, the ship's tactical officer, his voice steady, despite the tension in the air. "They're hailing us." Liam nodded, his jaw tightening. On screen, the main view screen flickered to life, revealing the face or what passed for a face of one of the aliens. Its features were striking, elongated, angular, and perfectly symmetrical, with skin that seemed to shift subtly between shades of silver and gold. Its large, almond-shaped eyes glowed faintly, radiating intelligence and calm authority. Behind it, more of the aliens could be seen moving about their own bridge, each one equally imposing. "This is Valak of the Kelleran Collective," the alien said, its voice deep and resonant, translated smoothly by the ship's communication system. "You are human, correct?" "Yes," Liam replied, his tone firm but respectful. "I am Captain Liam Carter of the starship Odyssey. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding." Valak tilted its head slightly, studying the humans before it. "Your species is young," it said after a pause. "We have observed your kind from afar. You possess ambition, yet you lack the wisdom that comes with time. Still, your arrival here is intriguing." Olivia stepped forward, her scientific instincts overriding her caution. "If I may, Valak," she began, her voice steady despite the enormity of the situation. "We've only recently begun exploring beyond our solar system. To meet a species as advanced as yours is an incredible opportunity. We wish to learn from you, to understand your culture and technology." Valak's glowing eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing her words. "Curiosity is a trait we value," it said, "but curiosity alone does not guarantee survival. Your kind has much to prove before we can consider you worthy of our attention." The comment stung, but Liam kept his expression neutral. He glanced at Bennett, who stood rigidly by his station, his hand hovering near the controls for the ship's defenses. Though the Kellerans hadn't made any overt threats, their sheer presence was intimidating enough. Their ship loomed over the Odyssey like a mountain overshadowing a pebble. "What do you mean by worthy?" Liam asked carefully. Valak leaned closer to the screen, its gaze piercing. "Strength takes many forms. Human, technology, intellect, resilience are measures of a species' potential. If you seek to earn our respect, you must demonstrate these qualities. Otherwise, your journey ends here." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had trained for countless scenarios during their mission, but none had prepared them for this, a test imposed by a species so far beyond them in every conceivable way. "We accept your challenge," Liam said finally, his voice unwavering. "Tell us what we must do." Valak regarded him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. Prepare yourselves. The trials will begin shortly." With that, the transmission ended, leaving the humans alone with their thoughts. As the screen went dark, Olivia let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Do you think we can do this?" she asked softly, turning to Liam. "We don't have a choice," he replied, his eyes still fixed on the alien ship outside. "If we want a chance to stand alongside the manned, maybe even survive, we'll have to give it everything we've got." Bennett crossed his arms, his expression grim. "Let's hope everything we've got is enough." The crew sprang into action, preparing for whatever lay ahead. Engineers ran diagnostics on the ship's systems, ensuring everything was functioning at peak efficiency. Scientists pored over data, trying to glean any insight into the Kelleran's capabilities. Meanwhile, Liam retreated to his quarters to compose a message to Earth, knowing that the fate of humanity might rest on the outcome of these trials. Back on Earth, news of the encounter spread quickly. President Elizabeth Monroe convened an emergency meeting with her advisors, grappling with the implications of first contact. Across the planet, people watched live broadcasts of the event, their reactions ranging from AEW to fear. Humanity had always wondered if it was alone in the universe. Now, faced with the reality of an alien civilization far superior to their own, they were forced to confront their place in the cosmos. For now, all anyone could do was wait and hope that the crew of the Odyssey would rise to the occasion. The galaxy's strongest species had encountered humans, and though no one knew what the future held, one thing was certain: everything was about to change. The crew of the Odyssey worked tirelessly to prepare for the trials, their movements sharp and deliberate. The air on the ship was thick with anticipation, each person aware that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Captain Liam Carter paced the bridge, his mind racing through countless scenarios. He knew the Kellerans were watching, analyzing every decision, every interaction. Humanity's first impression mattered more than ever. On the view screen, the Kelleran ship remained motionless, its surface shimmering faintly like a mirage. It was hard not to feel small in its shadow. Lieutenant Ryan Bennett stood by his station, his fingers hovering over the controls. Though he tried to focus on his duties, his thoughts kept drifting to the sheer power the Kellerans had displayed. Their weapons, their size, their effortless dominance, it was overwhelming. For the first time in his life, Bennett felt truly insignificant. Dr. Olivia Grant, meanwhile, was deep in conversation with Ensign Daniel Hayes, the youngest member of the science team. They pored over data from the Kelleran's initial transmission, searching for clues about what the trials might entail. "They said they'd test our strength," Olivia murmured, tapping at her tablet. "But strength doesn't just mean physical power. There's intellect, adaptability, maybe even morality." Daniel nodded, his youthful enthusiasm tempered by the gravity of the situation. "Do you think they'll make us solve puzzles? Or maybe survive in some kind of hostile environment?" "Could it be both?" Olivia replied. "We need to be ready for anything." As the hours passed, the tension on the Odyssey grew palpable. Then, without warning, the Kellerans re-established contact. Valak's face appeared once again on the view screen, its glowing eyes locking onto Liam. "The first trial begins now," it announced. "You will demonstrate your ability to overcome challenges, fail, and your journey ends here." Before anyone could respond, the Kelleran ship emitted a low hum, and a beam of light shot out, enveloping the Odyssey. In an instant, the human crew found themselves transported to a strange, alien world. The landscape was barren, dotted with jagged rocks and pools of bubbling liquid that emitted a faint green glow. The sky above was a swirling mass of dark clouds, and the air carried a metallic temps. "This isn't Earth," Bennett muttered, gripping his weapon tightly as he scanned the area. "Where are we?" "I don't know," Liam admitted, his voice calm, despite the unease spreading through him. "But we're here for a reason. Stay alert." Olivia knelt beside one of the glowing pools, dipping a sensor into the liquid, her brow furrowed as she studied the readings. "This place is toxic," she said, standing up quickly. "Prolonged exposure could be dangerous. We need to find shelter and fast." The group moved cautiously across the uneven terrain, their footsteps crunching against the rocky ground. As they explored, they began to notice strange structures scattered throughout the area, towering spires made of an unknown material that pulsed faintly with light. Each spire seemed to emit a low-frequency hum, and the closer they got, the more disorienting it became. "What do you think these things are?" Daniel asked, his voice tinged with awe. "No idea," Olivia replied, "but they're definitely part of the trial. Look, there's something etched into the base of this one." She pointed to a series of symbols carved into the spire, their shapes intricate and unfamiliar. They resembled the markings on the Kelleran's ship, but were arranged in a way that suggested a pattern. "We need to figure out what they mean," Liam said firmly. "If this is a puzzle, solving it might get us closer to passing the trial." For the next several hours, the crew worked together to decipher the symbols. Olivia and Daniel focused on identifying patterns, while Bennett kept watch, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The rest of the team scouted the area, searching for additional clues. It wasn't long before they discovered another spire, this one taller and more ornate than the first. Its base bore a new set of symbols, seemingly connected to those on the previous spire. Slowly, a picture began to emerge, a sequence, a code that needed to be unraveled. "This is incredible," Olivia whispered, her excitement growing as the pieces fell into place. "It's like a language. If we can crack it, we might unlock whatever mechanism the Kellerans want us to activate." But progress came at a cost. The toxic environment began to take its toll. Several crew members complained of headaches and nausea, their bodies struggling to cope with the alien atmosphere. Samantha Cole, the ship's chief engineer, worked frantically to modify portable oxygen units, ensuring everyone had enough breathable air to continue. As the sun, or what passed for a sun, began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape, tensions ran high. Bennett grew increasingly frustrated with the slow pace of the investigation. "We don't have time for this," he snapped, pacing back and forth. "Every second we waste puts us at risk. And rushing won't help either," Liam countered sharply. "We need to stay focused. Panicking will only make things worse." Despite the mounting pressure, Olivia refused to give up. With Daniel's help, she pieced together the final sequence of symbols. Together, they approached the largest spire, their hands trembling slightly as they input the code. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deafening roar, the spire lit up, its light piercing the darkness. A holographic image appeared above the spire, showing a map of the alien world. At its center was a glowing beacon, marking what appeared to be the trial's endpoint. The message was clear. They had solved the puzzle, but their journey was far from over. "Well done, Velox," voice boomed, echoing across the landscape. "You have demonstrated intelligence and cooperation, but the true test lies ahead. Reach the beacon, and you will prove your resilience." Liam turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "Let's move. We've come this far. We're not stopping now." The group pressed on, their determination renewed. The path to the beacon was fraught with challenges: treacherous cliffs, sudden storms, and strange creatures that lurked in the shadows. Each obstacle tested their limits, pushing them to the brink of exhaustion. Yet, through it all, they relied on one another, drawing strength from their shared purpose. Bennett, who had initially doubted their chances, found himself inspired by the crew's tenacity. Even Samantha, whose engineering skills were crucial, in keeping everyone safe, pushed past her own fears to ensure the mission's success. And Olivia, driven by her insatiable curiosity, never stopped seeking answers, her mind working tirelessly to anticipate the next challenge. By the time they reached the beacon, the crew was battered, but unbroken. As they activated it, a surge of energy rippled through the air, signaling the completion of the trial. Velok's voice returned, this time carrying a note of approval. You have shown resilience and ingenuity. You may proceed to the final trial. Though relief washed over them, the crew knew the hardest part was yet to come. Back aboard the Odyssey, they regrouped, tending to injuries and discussing what lay ahead. Humanity's encounter with the galaxy's strongest species had changed them in ways they were only beginning to understand. And as they prepared for the final test, one thing was certain: they would face it together, united by hope and the unyielding belief that they could rise to meet any challenge. The crew of the Odyssey gathered on the bridge, their faces etched with exhaustion but also a flicker of hope. They had survived the first trial, a grueling test of intellect and resilience, and now awaited instructions for the final challenge. Captain Liam Carter stood at the center of the room, his posture straight despite the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He glanced at each member of his team, silently acknowledging their efforts. They had come so far, but he knew the hardest part was yet to come. On the view screen, Velok's face reappeared, its glowing eyes piercing as ever. You have proven capable of solving problems and enduring hardship, it said, its voice calm, but commanding. Now, you must demonstrate your moral compass. The final trial will test your values. Choose wisely, for the consequences of your actions will define your worth. Before anyone could ask what that meant, the Kellerans transported them once again. This time, they found themselves in a vast chamber aboard the alien ship. The walls were smooth and metallic, shimmering faintly as if alive. In the center of the room stood two figures, humanoid in shape, but clearly artificial, like advanced robots. One figure lay motionless on the floor, seemingly damaged beyond repair. The other stood upright, its head bowed as if waiting for instructions. "What is this?" Lieutenant Ryan Bennett asked, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. The sight of the humanoid machines made him uneasy, though he couldn't explain why. "This is the trial," Velok's voice echoed around them. "One of these beings holds vital information needed to complete your mission. The other is expendable. You must decide which one to save. Time is limited." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The situation felt wrong, almost cruel. How could they possibly choose? Dr. Olivia Grant stepped forward, her brow furrowed in thought. She approached the standing figure cautiously, examining it closely. It didn't react, its blank face giving no indication of sentience or purpose. Ensign Daniel Hayes crouched beside the fallen figure, inspecting the damage. "This one looks completely broken," he said quietly. "I don't think we can fix it." Olivia frowned. "But how do we know which one has the information? What if we make the wrong choice?" Liam turned to face his crew, his expression grim. "We need to think carefully. This isn't just about logic, it's about morality." Velok said this trial would test our values. So, what kind of people are we? What principles do we stand for? Samantha Cole crossed her arms, her frustration evident. "It's not fair. They're putting us in an impossible position. No matter what we do, someone or something loses." "Maybe that's the point," Bennett muttered, pacing back and forth. "They want to see how we handle tough decisions. Do we play it safe and pick the obvious choice? Or do we take a risk based on gut feeling?" Olivia knelt beside the damaged figure, running her fingers over its surface. What if neither option is truly expendable? What if both are important in different ways? We're missing something here. Daniel nodded slowly. "Maybe we're supposed to look deeper. These aren't just objects, they represent ideas, choices. Maybe the Kellerans want to see how much we value life, even when it's inconvenient. The debate continued, voices rising as tempers flared. Time ticked away, the pressure mounting with each passing second. Finally, Liam raised a hand, silencing the group. "Enough," he said firmly. "Arguing won't help us. Let's focus on what matters. If we act out of fear or selfishness, we'll fail. But if we act with compassion and integrity, maybe we'll prove ourselves worthy." His words struck a chord. Slowly, the crew began to work together, pooling their thoughts and observations. Samantha suggested examining the energy signatures of both figures, hoping to find clues about their functions. Bennett kept watch, his sharp eyes scanning the chamber for any hidden threats. Meanwhile, Olivia and Daniel worked side by side, piecing together fragments of data from the machine's internal systems. As they delved deeper, a pattern emerged. The standing figure emitted a steady pulse, rhythmic and deliberate, almost like a heartbeat. The fallen figure, though damaged, showed signs of residual activity, faint sparks of energy that hinted at latent potential. Neither machine was entirely inert, suggesting that both held value in some way. "We can't just abandon one," Olivia said finally, her voice filled with resolve. "If we do, we're letting fear dictate our actions. That's not who we are. But saving both might be impossible," Bennett countered. "We don't even know if we have the tools to repair the broken one." "Then we try anyway," Liam interrupted. "We came here to show the Kellerans what humanity is capable of, not just our strength, but our compassion. If we leave either of these behind, we're no better than those who prioritize convenience over ethics." The decision wasn't easy, but the crew rallied behind their captain. Working quickly, they used the limited resources available to stabilize the fallen figure, patching its damaged circuits and rerouting power to keep it functional. At the same time, they ensured the standing figure remained intact, preserving its vital systems. It was a delicate balancing act, requiring every ounce of skill and determination they possessed. When the task was finally complete, the chamber hummed with energy. Valak's voice returned, this time carrying a tone of approval. "You chose to preserve both lives, despite the difficulty. Few species would have acted with such selflessness. Your actions reflect a core value we hold dear, the belief that all life deserves respect and protection." The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, their shoulders sagging under the weight of exhaustion. They had done it, they had passed the final trial, but there was no time to celebrate. The Kellerans transported them back to the Odyssey, where Valak awaited them on the view screw. "You have earned our respect, humans," it said, its glowing eyes softening slightly. "Your ingenuity, resilience, and morality set you apart. Though young, your species shows great promise. We will consider an alliance, but know this, the galaxy is vast and dangerous. Your journey is only beginning." Liam nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "Thank you, Valak. We won't forget this moment. Whatever challenges lie ahead, we'll face them with the same spirit that brought us here." As the transmission ended, the crew erupted into cheers, their joy infectious. For the first time since encountering the Kellerans, they allowed themselves to feel hope. Humanity had proven itself worthy of standing alongside the galaxy's strongest species. But as Liam gazed out at the stars, he knew the real work was just beginning. The universe was full of mysteries and dangers that they had yet to uncover. Back on Earth, news of the successful trials spread like wildfire. President Elizabeth Monroe addressed the world, her voice filled with emotion as she praised the bravery and ingenuity of the Odyssey's crew. Across the planet, people celebrated, their fears giving way to optimism. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, and though the road ahead would be long and uncertain, one thing was clear, everything had changed. For better or worse, humanity was no longer alone, and with allies like the Kellerans by their side, they stood ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store. The Odyssey floated silently in the vastness of space, its crew basking in the glow of their hard-won success. For the first time since encountering the Kellerans, there was a sense of calm aboard the ship. The trials had pushed them to their limits, testing their intelligence, resilience, and morality, but they had risen to the challenge. Now, as they awaited further instructions from Valak, the crew allowed themselves a moment to reflect on what they had achieved. Captain Liam Carter stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the shimmering expanse of stars outside. He felt a mixture of pride and humility. Humanity had proven itself worthy in the eyes of the galaxy's strongest species, but that didn't mean the journey ahead would be easy. The Kellerans had hinted at dangers lurking in the cosmos, threats far greater than anything Earth had faced before. Liam knew that earning their respect was only the beginning. Dr. Olivia Grant sat in the science lab, her mind racing with questions. The Kellerans were unlike any species humanity had ever imagined. Their technology was light years ahead, their understanding of the universe seemingly limitless. Yet, despite their power, they had chosen to engage with humanity not out of curiosity alone, but because they believed humans had something valuable to offer. Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this alliance carried immense responsibility. If humanity was going to stand alongside the Kellerans, they would need to grow stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Lieutenant Ryan Bennett leaned against the wall of the mess hall, sipping a cup of lukewarm coffee. His thoughts drifted back to the trials, particularly the final one. Choosing to save both humanoid machines had been risky, even reckless, but it had worked. The Kellerans had praised their decision, calling it an act of selflessness. Bennett wasn't sure he agreed with that assessment. To him, it had been about doing what was right, no matter the cost. Still, he couldn't deny the impact it had made. For the first time, he felt a flicker of hope that humanity might actually have a place among the stars. Ensign Daniel Hayes, meanwhile, was hunched over a console, reviewing data from the trials. Though exhausted, he couldn't stop thinking about the implications of everything they had learned. The Kellerans weren't just advanced, they were guardians, tasked with maintaining balance in the galaxy. Their warnings about ancient threats lingering at the edge of known space weighed heavily on his mind. What exactly were they guarding against? And how could humanity possibly prepare for such dangers? As the hours passed, the Kellerans finally broke their silence. Valak's voice echoed through the ship, calm and measured. "You have earned our trust, humans. Now, we will share knowledge with you, knowledge that will help you grow stronger. But understand this, the path ahead is fraught with peril. Your survival depends on your ability to adapt." Before anyone could respond, the Kelleran ship extended a beam of light toward the Odyssey. It enveloped the human vessel, pulling it closer until the two ships were docked together. A portal opened between them, allowing the crew to step onto the alien craft for the first time. The interior of the Kelleran ship was breathtaking. Its walls pulsed with energy, glowing softly in hues of blue and silver. Strange symbols floated in the air, shifting and rearranging themselves, as if alive. The crew moved cautiously, their awe tempered by a sense of unease. They were guests here, but they also knew they were being watched closely. Valak greeted them personally, its towering form radiating authority. "Come," it said, gesturing for them to follow. "There is much to show you." The Kellerans led the crew through a series of chambers, each one more astonishing than the last. In one room, holographic projections displayed the history of the galaxy, ancient civilizations rising and falling, wars fought across star systems, and the emergence of the Kellerans as protectors of order. In another, they witnessed demonstrations of Kelleran technology, energy shields capable of deflecting entire fleets, weapons that could obliterate planets, and engines that allowed faster-than-light travel without the limitations of traditional warp drives. Olivia was mesmerized, her scientific instincts kicking into overdrive. She bombarded the Kellerans with questions, eager to understand the principles behind their advancements. To her surprise, Valak answered patiently, explaining concepts in terms she could grasp. Your species is young, it said, but your potential is great. With guidance, you may yet achieve greatness. Liam listened intently, his mind racing with possibilities. The Kellerans weren't just offering knowledge, they were offering a partnership. Humanity could leap centuries forward in technological development overnight. But he also sensed a warning beneath Valak's words. Such power came with risks, and not every species that had walked this path had survived. Bennett, however, remained skeptical. As impressive as the Kellerans' technology was, it also terrified him. He couldn't help but wonder what price humanity might pay for accepting their help. What's the catch? He asked bluntly during a break in the tour. You're giving us all this knowledge, but nothing comes for free. What do you expect? In return, Valak regarded him with its glowing eyes, unreadable yet somehow reassuring. We ask only that you use this knowledge wisely. The galaxy is fragile, Lieutenant. Many civilizations have crumbled under the weight of their own ambition. We seek allies who value cooperation over conquest. The answer didn't fully ease Bennett's concerns, but it gave him pause. Perhaps the Kellerans truly did want to help, rather than exploit. Still, he resolved to remain vigilant, knowing that trust had to be earned, not given blindly. As the day wore on, the crew returned to the Odyssey, their minds buzzing with new ideas and possibilities. Back on Earth, President Elizabeth Monroe convened an emergency session of the United Nations, sharing updates from the Odyssey's mission. The world watched in stunned silence as images of the Kelleran ship and its technology were broadcast globally. Reactions varied. Some celebrated the breakthrough, while others voiced fears about the implications of such rapid advancement. Amidst the chaos, Liam gathered his team for a private meeting. This changes everything, he said, his voice steady but filled with gravity. We've been given a chance to reshape humanity's future, but we can't take it lightly. Every decision we make from this point forward will have consequences not just for us, but for generations to come. Olivia nodded, her expression thoughtful. We'll need to educate ourselves quickly. This isn't just about learning how to build better ships or weapons. It's about understanding the responsibilities that come with this kind of power. Samantha Cole chimed in, her tone pragmatic. And we'll need to work fast. If the Kellerans are right about the threats out there, we don't have the luxury of time. Daniel raised a hand hesitantly. Do you think we're ready for this? I mean, really, ready? No one answered immediately. The question hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Finally, Liam spoke. We don't have a choice. Ready or not, this is happening. All we can do is give it everything we've got. Hope it's enough. Over the next few days, the Kellerans shared more of their knowledge, providing blueprints and technical specifications for technologies far beyond humanity's current capabilities. Engineers aboard the Odyssey worked tirelessly to integrate these advancements into Earth's existing systems. Meanwhile, scientists studied the data, piecing together insights that would revolutionize fields ranging from medicine to astrophysics. Despite the excitement, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some crew members worried about the ethical implications of adopting alien technology so rapidly. Others feared that humanity might lose its identity in the process. But for now, the focus remained on preparing for the challenges ahead. As the Odyssey prepared to return to Earth, Valak addressed the crew one final time. Remember, humans, strength is not measured solely by power. It is measured by the choices you make and the values you uphold. You have shown yourselves capable of greatness. Do not falter now. With those words, the Kelleran ship released the Odyssey, sending it on its way back home. As the human vessel sped through the stars, its crew looked ahead with a mix of hope and trepidation. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe full of wonders and dangers alike. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain: The galaxy's strongest species had encountered humans, and everything had changed. The Odyssey descended toward Earth, its sleek hull reflecting the pale light of the sun. The journey home had been quiet, almost too quiet, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. For the crew aboard the ship, the return felt surreal. They had left Earth as explorers seeking answers, but now they were returning as pioneers, carrying the weight of humanity's future on their shoulders. The knowledge they brought back, the blueprints and data shared by the Kellerans, was a gift unlike any other. But it also came with immense responsibility. Captain Liam Carter stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the growing image of Earth. Outside the viewport, he felt a strange mix of pride and anxiety. Humanity had proven itself worthy in the eyes of the galaxy's strongest species, but that didn't mean the road ahead would be smooth. The Kellerans' warnings about ancient threats still lingered in his mind, casting a shadow over the excitement of their achievements. What exactly were they preparing for? And could humanity truly rise to meet such challenges? Dr. Olivia Grant sat in her quarters, reviewing notes from the mission. Her tablet was filled with diagrams and equations, each one representing a piece of alien technology that could transform life on Earth. Energy sources capable of powering entire cities without pollution. Medical advancements that could cure diseases once thought incurable. Faster-than-light travel that would shrink the vast distances between stars. It was overwhelming, but also exhilarating. Yet, as she stared at the glowing screen, a question gnawed at her. At what cost would this progress come? Lieutenant Ryan Bennett paced the corridors of the ship, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Kellerans had been generous, yes, but their motives remained unclear. Why had they chosen humanity? Out of all the civilizations in the galaxy, why had they decided to share their secrets with a species still struggling to unite itself? Bennett trusted his instincts, and right now, they were telling him to proceed with caution. Back on Earth, the anticipation was palpable. News of the Odyssey's return spread quickly, sparking celebrations across the globe. People gathered in streets and squares, waving flags and chanting slogans about a new era for humanity. Governments scrambled to prepare for the arrival, knowing that the information the crew carried would reshape the world forever. President Elizabeth Monroe addressed the nation from the White House, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity," she declared. "We have taken our first steps into the stars, and though the path ahead will not be easy, we face it together." As the Odyssey touched down at a secure military base, the crew disembarked to a hero's welcome. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and crowds cheered wildly. But amidst the chaos, Liam kept his focus sharp. This wasn't just a celebration, it was a turning point. He signaled for his team to follow him into a private briefing room, where government officials and scientists awaited them. Inside, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Gone were the cheers and applause. Instead, there was an air of urgency. A large table dominated the center of the room, covered with maps, charts, and holographic projections. Representatives from various nations sat around it, their expressions serious. They wasted no time getting to the heart of the matter. "Captain Carter," said General Marcus Hale, a grizzled man with a no-nonsense demeanor. "We need to know everything. What did the Kellerans tell you? What kind of threat are we facing?" Liam took a deep breath before speaking. "The Kellerans are guardians of sorts," he began. "They've been watching over the galaxy for millennia, protecting it from dangers most of us can't even imagine. They warned us about an ancient anemia force so powerful it nearly destroyed them in the past. They believe this enemy is waking up again, and when it does, no corner of the galaxy will be safe." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. One of the scientists, Dr. Rachel Kim, leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "Do we know anything specific about this enemy? Its origins?" its capabilities. Olivia stepped in, her tone calm but authoritative. Not much. The Kellerans didn't give us details, only hints. But based on the data they shared, I think we're dealing with something beyond conventional warfare. This isn't just another species or empire, it's something older, darker, and far more dangerous. General Hale rubbed his temples, clearly frustrated. So we're supposed to defend ourselves against a threat we don't fully understand, using technology we barely comprehend. That doesn't sound like a winning strategy. It's not perfect, Liam admitted, but it's our best shot. The Kellerans aren't giving us their tech out of charity, they're giving us a chance to survive. We have to take it. Over the next several hours, the crew presented everything they had learned. Blueprints for advanced energy weapons, schematics for faster-than-light engines, and algorithms for artificial intelligence systems that could revolutionize communication. The room buzzed with discussion as experts debated how best to implement these innovations. Some argued for immediate deployment, while others urged caution, warning of the risks of rushing untested technology into production. Bennett listened intently, his skepticism growing with each passing minute. Finally, he spoke up. We're talking about integrating alien tech into every aspect of human society. That's not just risky, it's dangerous. What happens if something goes wrong? What if we lose control? Rachel nodded thoughtfully. He's right. We need safeguards. Protocols, to ensure we don't accidentally create more problems than we solve. Liam agreed. That's why we need to move carefully. Yes, time is critical, but so is precision. If we rush this, we could end up making mistakes we can't undo. As the meeting drew to a close, plans were set in motion. Research teams were assembled, resources allocated, and timelines established. Humanity's brightest minds would work around the clock to unlock the secrets of the Kellerans' gifts. Meanwhile, military forces prepared for the possibility of conflict, training with simulated scenarios designed to mimic encounters with unknown enemies. Days turned into weeks as the world adapted to the changes. Factories retooled to produce components for new spacecraft. Laboratories hummed with activity as scientists tested prototypes, and governments worked tirelessly to coordinate efforts on a global scale. For the first time in history, humanity was united not by ideology or politics, but by a shared goal: survival. Yet, not everyone embraced the shift. Protests erupted in cities around the world, with some arguing that reliance on alien technology threatened human independence. Others feared the ethical implications of wielding power far beyond their understanding. Despite these concerns, the majority of people supported the initiative, seeing it as humanity's only hope against the looming threat. On board the Odyssey, the crew continued to play a vital role in the transition. Olivia collaborated with researchers to refine the Kellerans' designs, ensuring they aligned with human needs. Daniel assisted engineers in building experimental devices, his youthful enthusiasm proving invaluable. Samantha worked closely with technicians to troubleshoot issues as they arose, her practical mindset helping to keep projects on track. And Bennett, ever vigilant, led security efforts to protect the operation from potential sabotage. Through it all, Liam remained a steady presence, guiding the team and serving as a liaison between Earth's leaders and the Kellerans. Regular updates from Valak reassured him that the alliance was genuine, though the alien leaders' cryptic warnings about the enemy grew increasingly dire. "Time is short," Valak told him during one transmission. "Prepare yourselves, Captain. The storm approaches." As winter gave way to spring, signs of progress became visible. Sleek new ships took to the skies, powered by Kelleran-inspired engines. Cities glowed brighter, thanks to clean energy solutions derived from alien designs, and medical facilities reported breakthroughs in treatments for previously untreatable conditions. Humanity was changing, evolving in ways few had thought possible. But, beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Not everyone trusted the Kellerans or the rapid pace of change. Conspiracy theories spread online, fueled by fear and misinformation. Some claimed the aliens had ulterior motives, while others accused governments of hiding the truth. Amidst the uncertainty, Liam reminded himself of the lessons he'd learned during the trials. Strength wasn't just about power, it was about unity, resilience, and morality. One evening, as he stood on the balcony of his temporary quarters, Liam gazed up at the stars. The sky was clear, dotted with countless pinpricks of light. Somewhere out there, the Kellerans watched, waiting to see if humanity would rise to the challenge. And somewhere beyond them, a shadow loomed, growing darker with each passing day. "We'll be ready," Liam whispered to himself, his voice firm, despite the doubts lingering in his heart. Whatever lay ahead, humanity would face it together. The galaxy's strongest species had encountered humans, and everything had changed. Now, it was up to humanity to prove that change could lead to growth and, perhaps, to greatness.